Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Cameron Toth, Biz Dev with C, Biz D with C, Business Development with Cameron Toth, live bringing you Joey the lawyer today. So happy to introduce you to Joseph Hladki Jr., aka Joey the lawyer. He's a licensed New York and New Jersey attorney. Joey has been practicing law for 5 years. He considers himself a life attorney, meaning he helps guide his clients through major life events such as purchasing or selling a home, criminal defense matters, divorce, and small business transactions. Joey's been an associate at the law office of Kevin B Faga Esq, PC, for his entire career. In January 2020, the law office became of counsel to Gaines, Novick, Ponzini, Cossu, and Vinditti law firm. Hopefully I got all those names right, Joey, in White Plains, New York. Joey and his firm are here to do all they can to provide diligent, detailed, and individualized services that their clients need, no matter what life event they may be going through. Now, Joey is a very interesting person. I was really glad to have him on the show. Thank you for being on, Joey. Appreciate having you.
What's going on, everyone? Cameron, thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to speaking about the law, breaking the law. No, I'm not sure. I'm not breaking the law.
Allegedly. So let's get right into this. Joey, tell us about your background, how you got interested in law. Tell us about your roots, where you came from, where you grew up and all that, and how you got interested actually in the law.
Yeah, I born and raised in the Bronx. Still live here today. Grew up in Morris Park. Now I'm over in Throgs Neck. I really got interested in the law. It really didn't happen until about college. I always had some kind of aspiration or thought process about maybe going and becoming an attorney when I was younger, but didn't really give it much thought. I was the jokester in class. I was not a straight A student. I was not the one who you would look at in the classroom and say, he's going to be a lawyer one day. Maybe you would look at me and say, he's going to be a criminal one day, but not a lawyer. And it really didn't happen for me until about college. I was in a fraternity. I won't say the fraternity's name because it's a national fraternity. Who knows the legalities on that? I probably should, but I don't. And we were, that fraternity. We were always in trouble, fights, getting kicked off campus. So we're on campus, off campus. And then finally the school said, you know what, we're going to revoke your charter. You're gone. And of course, they let the inmate, me, be the president of the animals. So I sat there for days on end reading the school bylaws, our charter bylaws, looked at the charges they were alleging against us, the procedure that they were supposed to put in place for us. And at the end of the day, we had an administrative hearing with the school, and I was able to prevail. And we kept the fraternity on the campus. And ever since that happened, some of my fraternity looked at me, they're like, you should probably make a run at this. And that's what I did. I gave it the college try, and somehow I pulled it off. I graduated from Seton Hall Law in 2014, and I passed the New York and New Jersey State Bar my first try.
That's amazing. So in terms of your process, obviously, great that you had the opportunity to represent the fraternity and sort of got into it. As you were studying to be a lawyer and everything, what kept you going and what keeps you going today?
What kept me going in law school? Luckily, I had some great friends in law school that I made while I was there. They were definitely a support group that I needed. My family, my mother and father were, they're my number one supporters. I could tell my parents I'm going to be a bank robber, and they would tell me, go be the best bank robber you can do. And then my friends, I have a group of 10 or 12 guys that, grammar school, high school, college, each other's wedding parties, they're family to me. They're not friends. They are family. And they've always supported me. My first year of law school, I had to move out to Boston because my LSAT grades weren't great. So I did my first year of law school in Boston, and I transferred back to Seton Hall. And throughout that process, they would come visit me. They called me every day, my family. So they kept me motivated because in all reality, I'm loud. I'm half Italian, half Ukrainian. So I'm loud, I'm funny, I'm out there, I'm obnoxious, but I'm not good looking. I'm not made for TV. So that wasn't going to happen. Um,
I think you'll have some folks that disagree with you on that. So we're looking for some comments here. We'll boost up Joey's opinion of himself today. Make sure to drop some comments and questions and likes for us on the video here.
You know, and I'm not an accountant. I'm not a numbers guy. You know, I add zeros, baby. I don't. What's pi? I don't know. It's a pizza on Morris Park Avenue. That's what pi is to me. So I was kind of in the boat. Like, this is it. This is all or nothing. I got to make this work. So that was my motivating factor too. You know, I can go back to
what do you enjoy about the job today? So I know, you know, you have some folks that you've represented. I know you do some real estate law. So what are the things that you enjoy kind of the most? What kind of sort of keeps you getting up in the morning to do what you do?
I mean, honestly, I'm blunt. I became a lawyer too because everyone told me I'd make $1 million. What a load of crap that was. I'm going to try not to curse, guys. I am a Bronx criminal defense attorney. Cursing is my second language. I'm going to try not to do that. So I apologize.
Luckily, we have no FCC control guidelines here. So if you feel like you need to do it, it's all right.
So, you know, first and foremost, I'll be a lawyer. They make a lot of money. Yeah, that's good, great, and grand. Not if you're a solo practitioner like me or work for a small firm like me. You got to work for it. So, you know, that was my first.
I think they call it putting in your dues, something like that, something along those lines.
I put in my dues when I was 2, baby. It's time to make that money now. So, you know, that was the first. You know, that's why I really wanted to do it at first. But I truly like helping people. And again, I think it started with the fraternity thing. You know, everyone was like, "We need help. What do we do? What do we do?" And again, I was in that position of being the president. Everyone was turning to me, and when we won, and everyone was so happy, and it was, you know. I wish I could have those results all the time. Unfortunately, in the real world, you don't. But I truly love helping people. And when it comes, especially to real estate, my first-time home buyers, you know, I hold their hand through that process. It's a great feeling because they actually really get something. They get that forever. You know, they hope it's a forever home, but they get it. They get that physical object that they've wanted. They get to start their family there, and to walk them through that process and show them how things work and what's going to happen. And that's huge for me. You know,
because I know you do a number of things. So walk us through this life attorney concept. When should somebody call you, or when does somebody call you typically?
Right now. Where's my cell phone number? Whoever's watching, call me. Come on. No, it's, again, I kind of term the phrase, you know, life attorney, because, you know, when do people need to call me? Hopefully they never need to call me. In all reality, I mean, a lot of what I do isn't the best life events. Besides the real estate part, selling, buying, that's great. And that's awesome. And those are good things to call a lawyer about. So yeah, so if you're looking to sell or buy a home, you need a lawyer. And some people don't realize that. New York is an attorney state. Connecticut, Florida, they use title companies. They don't have an attorney involved. But in New York, you need an attorney. So if you're thinking about buying, you're thinking about selling, to help speed up the process, to help to keep the process on the right path, you should probably think about an attorney. So while you're reaching out to a realtor,
you know, which I am, I'm at some point here, you know, we're gonna buy a house. So how early should I get an attorney involved in that process, and what do I need the attorney for?
So great question. Usually your realtor, if you have a really good realtor, and we know a bunch of them, we know great ones. They're on the ball. They're saying, hey, listen, buyer, you know, you're going to make an offer. You want an attorney on board. Here's why. The seller's attorney drafts the contract. So instead of scrambling and then, okay, I put an offer into a house and now I'm interviewing 3 attorneys and the interviewing process takes a couple of days, you're slowing down the process. Because when it comes to a sale, until a written contract is signed by both parties, the seller can continue to list that property on the MLS and market it. So if another offer comes in that's better, that deal's gone. So a good realtor is going to get an attorney involved with you while you're searching. Because here's the attorney information, the purchase memo, offer is made, seller drafts the contract, seller's attorney drafts the contract, sends it to the buyer's attorney. We're moving now. Now we're moving. We're going to eliminate that chance that another offer is going to come in, because it's then going to say on the MLS in contract. So it's going to help them. It's going to preserve, preserve their right to hopefully purchase the property. So they should be involved. So when for a buyer, if anyone's listening and watching and you're a potential buyer, while you're looking for realtors, while you're going to talk to mortgage brokers, start interviewing some attorneys. Have them on the team. You want to build a team. And you're probably going to hear me say the word team a lot today because it's so important in any aspect of what you're doing, legal-wise or business-wise, is that team.
All right. There's a little bit of feedback when you're speaking, just the challenges of doing stuff live. So I don't know if you're hearing it at all, but there's just like a little thing every time you speak. I don't know if there's a way to switch the speaker, but we'll get through it. Joey, with I know we're talking about the real estate side. I also want to give back that you recently have gotten your realtor's license, right?
Yes. So in New York, when you pass the bar exam, you automatically get several other licenses. So I didn't need to become a real estate agent first. I didn't need to do the 2 years and take a test. I actually all I had to do was pay for the broker license fee.
Okay.
And I never enacted it. And with the pandemic going on and everyone reinventing themselves, trying to figure out how they're gonna make the next dollar for the family, I activated my license. And I'm teaming up with Westchester Realty Consultants in Westchester County. They have a Bronx-based location as well, Mars Park Realty. Great guys, Joe Cosentino. Be working with them. It's another aspect that I get to get my hand into the real estate field with.
And what's your long-term plan with, and I think I'm interested, and this show is all about business development in terms of like, what are your long-term plan on the lawyer side? I know you were, we talked a little bit before we went on, just in terms of definitely wanting to get into investment properties and, what do you call it? Income
producing properties?
Well, yeah, income that you're not working for on a daily basis, right? I forget forgetting my term.
Passive income
there, that kind of thing. So what are your long-term plans, both on the law side and on the real estate side? I think it's interesting to sort of get into, what people's plans are.
I want to make bank, bro. No, my long-term goals is I love being an attorney. Again, just not to deviate, but to jump back to what kept me going, why I wanted to be an attorney too, is when I was a kid growing up, what I wanted to do. I loved being on stage. I loved acting. I was in high school plays. I did, I would just make my friends laugh on a nightly basis. So I love being a lawyer because the other part of my practice is trial work. I'm a criminal defense attorney and a divorce attorney. A lot of those a lot of my cases will go to litigation. But a majority really won't, in all reality. But I get to go to court. I get to do hearings. I get to do. I'm drawing a blank right now. But I get to do the hearings on the criminal side. I get to go to conferences on the divorce side, civil side. So I'm there. I'm putting on the show along with the law. Okay, I mean, the law is the law, and maybe I'm dumbing it down a little bit. But someone with half a brain can read the law, understand it, read the precedent case law on it, and make an argument. You got to throw some flair in there, and that's what I do. I tell jokes. Sometimes the judges love it. Sometimes the judges tell me to go take a walk. I've been called my cousin Vinny numerous times during a trial by a judge. And I love that aspect of it. But I also see the toll that's taken on some of my mentors, some of the older attorneys I know who have been doing this 30 years, 35 years. It's definitely a wear. And they keep saying when you're young and you want to get out there, you want to be at court every day, you want to be at trial every day. Trials is not what you see on TV. You don't show up and have a trial. There's trial prep. There's a lot that goes into that to prepare. You show up not prepared, you're going to get your ass kicked, you're going to look dumb, and you're probably committing malpractice. So, they're tired. They are tired. And they've transitioned. They've went from litigators, great litigators, into more of the real estate realm and the estate planning realm. They got tired. I hope I never get tired. I probably said the same thing they said when they were my age. I'm never going to get tired. I'm going to hustle forever. I'm going to love doing this. And I'm sure I will, but I'm probably going to get tired too.
Well, I think one of the things that, what I hear when because we're both members of Master Networks, just before we went on, Joe was saying we got the same barber. So that was exciting. But when I hear Joey talk and he says life lawyer, what I hear is a lot of times when we're in our sort of business framework is the same sort of folks that are like, you know, my business serves anyone and everyone, and it can be a little bit broad. And I imagine much like medicine, the specialists make more, right? So having that niche and having that sector where like, okay, when you need that lawyer to take care of that specific thing, that's the person you go to and you pay the premium because they have the experience and ability around that. So I could imagine, you know, a time when Joey the lawyer, Joey the life lawyer becomes Joey the real estate lawyer, or Joey just the criminal lawyer, because that seems to be the trend, you know, in terms of, you know, chasing the almighty dollar, and in terms of a given profession and a specialty. I think it's kind of cool on a few different levels that you're doing a lot of broad stuff now, because it gives you a lot of experience in all these different pieces, because people don't come to the table just needing one thing, and having the ability. I talk about in terms of business development, you know, I'm not a plumber, but I know enough about plumbing. My father was an apartment renovator. You know, you have an understanding that, you know, if a plumber comes in, you know what the work is supposed to look like. So you're not getting ripped off or getting taken advantage of. I know enough about a car that if somebody's screwing me over, you know, I know that I'm getting screwed over, right? You know, I know enough about XYZ to know whether the job is getting done well or not. I may not know all the technical details, but I know whether or not you're doing a great job. So having that understanding, and sort of, you're a young guy yet. I mean, you know, you got a lot of life ahead of you. I listen to Gary Vee all the time, and just understanding, like, you know, there's 20-year-olds that feel like life is over because they're not 19 years old anymore. And, you know, there's a lot of life for us all ahead of us. So I think it's good to have that perspective. You know, at the same note, like, time is money. You want to take advantage of it, right? You know, life will pass you by if you're just sitting there on the sidelines playing video games all day, right? In terms
But not to cut you off, Cameron, though.
Yeah.
These kids are making millions of dollars playing video games.
Right.
So you know what? There's never a wrong way. To be honest, nowadays, there's so many ways to make money.
Well, sure.
Whatever you're doing,
there's a wrong way when you're doing what you love and not getting paid for it, right?
That's definitely the wrong way. That's definitely the wrong way.
Yeah, I think there's, so this comes into like the monetization thing, right? So, you know, and I think this, you know, having a lawyer talk on this, like in terms of monetization, you know, monetizing your time, right? You know, because lawyers bill by the hour.
Hourly. Yep.
You know, that kind of thing. So there's that piece of it that I think probably part of your training as you were going into your firm, working with Mr. Faga, working with now the larger associates or larger partners. I think there is a business understanding that you do want to get to a point where you are separating your income from your time. Because if I have to be at the till in order to make the dollar, that means I'm at the till all the time and I don't get to enjoy life necessarily. So, you know, transferring, you know, you put the time in to get your degree, you put the time in to earn your chops. So at some point, transitioning that from a lifestyle of being behind the cash register, so to speak, to being the owner and being able to walk out and leaving others at the till to do the job, doing it the right way, but you get to make money while you sleep, so to speak.
Yeah, and I definitely have so many more years ahead of me before I can even get to that level. You know, an attorney is an ever learning, ever changing daily job. You know, if you meet an attorney who tells you I know everything, I love you, it's too bad, so sad, that's bullshit. Things change all the time. Laws are always changing. New laws are coming up. New cases are taking place. Laws are being you know, found unconstitutional. New laws are taking their place. So we're always reading. We're always learning. You know, we're never going to know it all. And doing this only 5 years, that's a blink of an eye for most of these attorneys. So I definitely have a lot more to learn. You know, I'll never know it all. I'm constantly reading, constantly learning. And right now, yeah, I am behind that desk and I am writing the motions. I need to learn how to write the motions. I'm in that courtroom making my mistakes because I need to be. You know, but fortunately for me, I got the gift of gab. So I do bring in a lot of business as well. And that's something that, now that we have the larger firm, the Gaines Law Group, Kevin and I, we have some support staff and everything. I'm able to get out there more. I'm able to do things like this. I'm able to, before the pandemic, and I don't know how I'm going to survive after it. It might be a touchy subject. I'm a hugger. I'm a kisser. I don't know you. I'm going to walk up to you and give you a hug. And I get that that's going to change. But I love networking. I was out 6 nights a week.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about that things are going to change, and I think there's going to be a heightened awareness, especially preceding this time, and especially before there's a vaccine on the table, which I think is smart, right? I mean, we want to protect people, but I always, whenever this conversation comes up, I try to bring up the fact that we've been through this exact scenario before. 1918, we went through the Spanish flu. Didn't originate in Spain, but it was called the Spanish flu, and it was a pandemic, and it was the flu. And guess what? Years later, we were hugging and kissing, and life will go back to normal. So I like to talk about that light at the end of the tunnel. This all ends when there's a vaccine. I saw an article the other day. I try not to pay too much attention to the news, but I saw an article the other day that I think is really important in just terms of there are challenges, whether you're talking about a wet market in China or you're talking about food production in the United States. I'm hopeful that there is going to be more government research and money on, putting plans in place so that we're better prepared for this stuff. I sort of think like if we would go back to March, lessons learned, everybody goes down for 2 weeks into a kind of almost full lockdown. And then 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, we're back to like almost normal because we knew what to do. Everybody knew to stay in their home. We eliminated, and kicked it in the butt, maybe some travel restrictions and whatnot in place to prevent spread, but not like this where people's livelihoods are being strangleholded by, a multi-month process. Hopefully we learn the lessons. It's not like we haven't been here before. We have been. So now we have more documentation, more video evidence, all this kind of stuff. So you hope that we'll put some investment into not only understanding how to deal with it if it happens again, but also the research and the money behind eliminating these problems before they pop up, because there is ways to eliminate some of the way that animals are being stored and kept that created this virus in the first place. So, I think that, hopefully on two notes: one, we've been there before, and two, we can prevent some of this stuff, and hopefully people will not lose sight of that once this isn't a headline story in everyday papers.
I hope. And, again, maybe this is a cynical lawyer in me, but until I see it, I'll believe it. When it's in black and white, that's when I say the deal's done. That's my kind of line, people. But with this pandemic and talking about, you asked the question earlier about when should people speak to a lawyer, get a lawyer involved. When to get a lawyer involved. Right now, a lot of my small businesses I represent a lot of restaurants, a lot of small business, delis, restaurants, small time contractors, plumbing, electrical. There's a lot going on. People invested their lives into their businesses, and unfortunately, they're crumbling. And partners want to buy out other partners because they need to liquidate. People want to terminate leases and get out of debt with landlords. And it's a good time now. I know we're like I said, I think we talked about earlier, Cameron, Westchester is phase 1 today, so they're reopening. But there's still time to talk to your lawyer, talk to your financial advisor, talk to your team, because a lot of my small businesses before I was involved, they didn't have shareholder agreements, they didn't have partnership agreements, they didn't have operating agreements. The old school mentality, which I love. I come from that old school mentality. A handshake is a handshake, and your word is your word. Unfortunately, that doesn't fly anymore.
Well, especially when you get money involved, it gets very unclear. You got people putting different amounts of money / effort / resources, right? So, we're going to go into business together. I'm going to loan you my piece of equipment. I'm going to pay for this. You pay for that. I'm going to work these hours. Oh, you can't do it today. You got to take care of kid. Okay, I'll come in today and I'll do it. So you feel some kind of way when the first dollars come in, or especially when the major dollars start coming in, and you're saying, I don't know if this profit split is really equitable, meaning I don't know that that's what you deserve and I deserve. And that's where a lot of problems I know come up. And then, that's on the successful side. And then forget about it when things take a downhill and now there's debt and people are on. I don't feel like I didn't run up that bill. That's not my responsibility. So talk to us about, forming a partnership. I was telling you a little bit before we went on, I was talking to my brother. He was starting up a business, and the conversation that I had with him, having been down a little bit of this road, I started up Tenth Event Staffing basically on my own. My wife is a partner because she's my life partner, but basically I was making all the decisions. So it wasn't a thing of which I think, and I'm sort of sidebarring that, but that's a whole nother issue of being in partnership with your wife and being clear. And, what if things go off the rails with the marriage and now you got 51%, 49%, in our case, ownership of the business. What do you do? I feel like I'm fortunate for now that I don't feel like we're going any place. I don't feel threatened in that way, but I know that that's something that could be a potential challenge, and we don't have anything legally written up, so there's a place to work with me, Joey. But
I hope not. I hope we don't have to.
Yeah, but I think, just having things written out and being clear, even with life partners, right? Being very super upfront and clear, understanding expectations, understanding what you are owning in terms of responsibility, what you're owning in terms of profit. Those are things that need to be really well. And, you can make an agreement and you can change it later, but having that agreement in writing right away at the beginning of a partnership is so critical, because are you prepared for success? Are you prepared for failure? Either way, relationships, and I'm sure you've seen this all the time. I'd love to hear some of your stories on this. Relationships are going to be really hurt if you guys aren't on the same page in your business or even your personal relationship. And especially when it comes to money, I think money is one of those things that, it creates hurt feelings real fast.
Money is the root of all evil, but it makes the world go round at the same time. So, I have a ton of stories where business is owned by brothers, cousins. It could tear apart a family if it's not done correctly. And you want to avoid that. You listen. I have business dealing with family, and they say never do business mix business and family. I don't believe that. I think that it depends on your personality and your relationship with your family. And if I could tell someone to go take a walk, they could tell me to take a walk. We're going to be okay afterwards. But even with my family, I put in shareholder agreements. I put in partnership agreements, because, like you were saying, if there's liability, who's responsible for that liability? If we're going to sell, how do we divvy up the profit? And what about distributable income? When are we going to make an income from this? Just because I made $2 today doesn't mean we get $1 each. We got to pay our overhead. We got to pay this.
That's a big business plans, right? So distributed income is one of those things. And just in terms of the agreement, but also, I think a lot of people that I have an idea, I think people are going to buy this, right? But are you going to make money from it? and then how do you know, right? How do you know that you're going to make money from it? So planning. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So, I mean, I've worked with several startups, so I kind of get that concept. I understand where that is, and I can't go too into detail with the startups because they're in that process now. But who's putting in sweat equity? Who's putting in actual cash? Who's doing what? And when you're starting up that way, it starts usually it's friends, family, investors. So the idea could be great, but we don't know where the money is yet. We have projections of what could happen, but what could happen isn't what's happening. So we have to plan for that. And that needs to be in those agreements. Who breaks down what? Does the investor get their money back first before we start distributing any profit? What if we don't make any profit? What if we put this out there, we try to sell it, it makes $0? Do the other partners now owe the investor money, or was it a true investment? It was a risk associated with it. I may lose my money. So having these things put in place, again, a partnership agreement, shareholder agreement, operating agreement, based on what kind of entity you're forming. Here's the best one too, not to jump around, but what if one of your partners dies? That is inevitable. We're all going to die. Cameron, I love you, bud. We start a company together. We're great. You do this part of the job. I do that part of the job. We don't step on each other's toes. We know what we're doing. Out of nowhere, Cameron's gone. Cameron, your wife is great. I love her. Great person. She doesn't know the first thing about this business. She's now my partner. I can't buy her out of the shares. There's no right of first refusal. Some people don't even realize that. And if you don't have these documents, the general business law, the New York State general business law will come into play, and it'll gap fill. It'll make up an agreement for you guys that you have to live by. And those are general. You want to tailor your agreements to what you guys want to work out. I have clientele who are restaurants and professional corporations where spouses can't be part of that corporation after death because they don't have the professional license. In the agreement, there's the buyout, there's the bylaws, there's the shareholder agreement, and on death, they value the shares, valuation's done independently, the estate is paid, whatever the estate does with the money, they do with the money, but those shares come back, there's no more ties. There's also, God forbid, there's several partners. Someone gets divorced. One of the partners gets divorced. In divorce court, I'm going to try and take half of my client, that person's shares, if I represent the spouse. Now they got shares. Now we got people who are divorced, and I can't afford to pay off the shares. And then you get stuck with having to give shares to an ex-spouse. And then some partners want to buy the ex. It gets so confusing. So people are always running, right? People always want to put the cart before the horse sometimes. I got this great idea. We got this. Everything's going to work out great. But what if it doesn't? And you need to speak with someone who does a lot of the business transactional law that can go through these ideas with you, go through these scenarios. Hey, so I know you're thinking that you're going to make $10 billion with this idea, but what happens if Johnny dies? What happens if someone goes into bankruptcy? What if someone gets arrested? What happens with the shares? Let's think of these things now so they don't become problems later. And that's the biggest, the biggest recommendation I could tell people, especially business people. Yeah, it sucks paying a lawyer and they charge crazy fees, but the good ones really help a business. And they become part of that team. They become part of that business entity. The good ones do. And unfortunately, all we do is sell our time in pieces of paper, and they look at it and they're like, well, I paid you $10,000 for a 30-page document. Well, if it was done right, that 30-page document is going to avoid a lot of issues in the future. Not saying you're not going to get sued. I'm not saying there's not going to be a dispute, but the answers should be in there.
No, I mean, when you talk about things like that, I mean, and obviously nobody plans on death, but that's sort of the point, right? That you're, things that, especially when it comes to partnerships, you just can't control some things. And the more you can define and lay out in front, especially with a partnership, I think, you got your sole proprietorship and maybe, you don't have to plan for certain things because, the business goes, it goes. But the moment you start taking on employees, the moment you start taking on investors, the moment you start taking on things that, create complications, not only for you, but for your family, right? Because what is your family going to be saddled with if you don't properly outline these things and make sure even me, when I started up Tilden and Staffing, I was running as a DBA sole proprietorship, and it created problems for us that I'm still dealing with years later on the tax side. So just having the understanding of, okay, I need to, prepare a corporation for my business so that my finances are separated from the business so that the IRS can't mistakenly assign $600,000 of income to my personal Social Security code when most of that money is going out in terms of payroll expense and payroll tax. Like, it's just crazy what the math can do to you if you're not properly protecting yourself. So I really appreciate that side of it, and I'm still learning about it. And I appreciate your perspective on it because I definitely know that if I, and I plan on, I love business. I want to get involved with folks that are doing things. When you were telling me about the real estate, I'm like, automatically I'm like, all right, how can I partner with Joey? Like, we can get into some equity, capital kind of dealings, and let's make that happen. Right. So we'll talk, Joey. All right. So
100%. Definitely going to talk about that.
Equity capital, I think, is one of the places where I really want to move into, because I think where some people may be uncomfortable with the business side, but they want to make an investment. Let's create an equity capital company with a few of our folks and put money together and put the work in. I got folks that can work on the houses. I got folks that can sell the houses. I got, so it's bringing that network together and creating a deal. We got the show here to create excitement and some noise for the stuff that we're doing. So that's the long-term plan, is doing some projects like that where we're building out and putting the power of people's money to work, gathering it and then using it to power forward businesses and make some money for folks. Because I think I like making money, but I really like helping people. So if we can put the two together, it's a match made in heaven.
You know what? The best thing you could do and the partnerships that I see excel and succeed so much are the people who want to make money together. Listen, everyone likes making money. And if anyone says they're in the job not to make money, they're a liar. Okay, everyone needs money. So, but it's great when you
jobs. Like, I was working nonprofit, and this is the thing, whether you're a full-fledged capitalist or not, right? You still got to pay rent at the end of the month. I was working for Sound Business. I've been involved with this nonprofit for the last 24 years. Right now, we got this Alumni Connections project that I'm doing, where we're interviewing alumni every day. When I was doing that in 2009, 2010, I would have continued doing it. I would have glad I was doing what I love. I was advising students. I'm passionate about education, providing opportunities, showing people all the opportunities that exist. That's what I'm passionate about, right? But the money wasn't there, so I had to make a switch because I got to put food on the table, I got to pay rent, and I want to do more, right? So, for some people, they just want to buy the big screen television, the nice house and everything, which I definitely want the nice house for my family. I also want to buy houses for my children. That's a big thing for me. But they aren't necessarily in it just to drive income for income's sake. Going right back to what you're talking about, like, hey, why can't we do good things and make money?
Yeah.
And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So talk to me about some of the stories. I want to get into some of the fun side and the light of life. Tell me about some fun stories, some things that you've just, some interesting, whether it has to do with business or not, but just some interesting life events that have brought people your way and fun stuff that you can tell us about. I think, on the criminal side, I know you've had some funny stories before, but talk to us about maybe a couple of different examples of interesting things that have come across your desk over the years.
Well, I have to use hypotheticals. I can't use real names or real places.
Allegedly.
For confidentiality purposes, I can't do that. But yeah, listen, I get things. What's a typical day? So, and here's what I love, what I do too, and I'll get into the story based, is my day is, I'm not a specialist. I don't focus. My firm just doesn't do divorce all day long. It doesn't do criminal all day long. So when I walk into my office, or when, at least I used to in 2019, when I was able to do that, it was different. And I had my day plotted out. Okay, we got these calls, this call, that call. We got the criminal. We'll do criminal for the first couple hours, divorce for the next couple. We got to follow up with the mortgage broker on the real estate deal. It kept me busy, kept me flexible. It kept me out there, and it kept my mind working, kept me sharp. It didn't let me think that, oh, this is so routine that I missed something. That's why I think it benefits me too, is that I never think that I'm so good at one area that I may overlook something. I don't just take it for granted that something's in that divorce separation agreement. I don't just take it for granted that, oh, this is in my omnibus motion, which is a motion for criminal matters that get hearings on things. I don't take that for granted. I'm always keeping the knife sharp because of that. But what are some crazy? I mean, I get my criminal stuff is the most fun probably. I could have stories upon stories upon stories. With ethnic groups that are alleged to be in alleged organizations from here to there. Those are always fun. I think the craziest thing right now, talk about stories, is, and it's unfortunate because of the pandemic and what it's created, is my divorce business right now is booming. As of today in New York State, throughout the entire New York State, we can begin filing new actions again. And for the last 7 weeks, I'm not joking, I got at least 2 phone calls a week from people. Hey, is this Joey the lawyer? Yeah, Joey the lawyer. How you doing? Okay, I hate this fuckface. Sorry.
Gotcha.
And I said, what? What are we talking about? Yeah, my husband's a deadbeat. I hate him. I need to get divorced. Oh, okay. Where are you right now? I'm home. Okay, where is he? Well, he's sitting on the couch next to me. We live in a 1-bedroom. Can you go into another room? Can we have this conversation? He's yelling in the background. Thankfully, no physical violence. That's been a terrible statistic. Domestic violence has gone through the roof right now, and it's terrible. And I hope that those people are prosecuted to the full extent of the law, because that's definitely a devastating thing going on right now.
Wow.
Fortunately, none of my clients are suffering that. It's just they're
they're over it.
Because you have to think, what are the biggest reason? What's the number one reason for divorce? Financial stress. What's everyone going through right now? Financial stress. What's the second biggest reason people get divorced? Lack of communication. People have been so busy in their lives. I mean, even my own situation, my own wife. We're up at 6 o'clock in the morning. She's at the door. I'm out the door. She's a teacher in the Bronx. I'm an attorney. She's taking night classes for her master's. I'm out networking at night. We leave at 7 a.m. and we see each other again at 9 p.m.
Right.
This situation has forced a lot of people to be together for a lot of hours, and they don't have the communication. So their communication is off. They're stressed about work. They're stressed about their finances. All the reasons that someone does get divorced that they never maybe would have seen because of this, they're seeing, and they're seeing it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're saying enough. And they just want to get out of it. So the funny things right now are the phone calls I'm getting from spouses talking about each other in front of each other.
Oh.
And it puts me in an awkward situation because I'm not an asshole until I have to be an asshole, but I don't want to be advising someone on what they should be doing while their spouses would probably hear me. Again, I'm not a quiet person. My voice travels even over phones. So, that's some of the craziest stuff right now. My criminal stuff is
to deal with that, because for me, like, having those emotionally stressful conversations over and over again, like, I really like helping people, but I don't think I could be a social worker because the stress and uncomfortableness of dealing with somebody over and over again that's going through that emotional stress, it weighs on me. I would internalize it. It would be something that I would be thinking about after the phone call and into the evening. Like I admire folks that are on the social work side of things that are dealing with, girlfriends that have abusive boyfriends that go back to the abusive boyfriend. It would just keep me up at night having, developing a personal relationship with somebody and then having to deal with that over and over again. So I admire your ability to be able to deal with that and not be sucked down by the depressing elements of it and have some good humor about it. I want you to kind of continue. I'm sorry for interrupting, but
I don't know.
Keep going. But I also want to talk about maybe some of your advice for folks that, maybe have not tied the knot and what maybe they should do based on your experience.
Don't do it. I'm cutting you off right there. Don't get married. Just do me a favor. I don't want your money. There's no reason. I'm Catholic. Yes, marriage is a sacrament. Whatever. No, it's not. It's bullshit. You love someone, go move in.
A married man, so...
As a pot goes whizzing past my head for my wife in the kitchen.
Listen, if somebody's like, I would love to get some advice from you. Like, if they're like two people and they're committed, even after hearing your advice just now, and they said, anyways, we heard Joey the lawyer, but we still want to get married. What would you advise from a legal perspective in a relationship, personal relationship, based on all your experience with divorce? What are some prerequisites that people should have in place, feeling legal otherwise, that they should do before they tie the knot?
Listen, in the last 5 years, again, I've been a lawyer, but I've also been a therapist, psychiatrist. I get involved with my clients. I do, because I do truly care. As much as I may sound cynical and money motivated, again, there's nothing wrong with being happy what you're doing and making some money too.
Yeah.
But I do. I get involved with my clients. And what I would give advice to a young couple, even some of my own friends that are now getting married or got engaged. You love each other that much, you're going to take this major step. Me and my wife, several years ago, we laid out our finances off the bat. These are our goals. We had a whole, what are your goals in the next 5 years, Linz? Joey, what's your goals in the next 5 years? Where do you stand with debt? Where do you stand with this? Because again, financials are huge. That's the number one reason cause for divorce. Be honest and upfront about it. And hopefully you're on the same wavelength on where you want to be, what you want to be making, and all that. Again, second, communication.
Financial goals match up. I imagine that there's a lot of interesting, and me and my wife, we've been married for 16 years, but one of the major battles or conflicts that we've had over the years is how we manage our own money. And at one point we had an account where we had the money together, and that was not working out. And I was the unresponsible person. Not to say that I was misusing the money, but I wasn't saving the money the way that I should be. And it wasn't clear from my wife what was happening with the money, and she wanted clarity. And I think this is important in friendships and in relationships. And there's an expression in Spanish, I think it's cuentas claras, amistades largos, which means clear accounts, long friendships, which means like keep the money separate and clear, and you'll have a longer friendship. So along those lines, financial goals, how they manage money. What would you counsel somebody or talk to somebody about in terms of setting up personal finance? You're going to buy a home together, right? We're going to get Joey the lawyer to help us with the home buy. We're buying the home together as a couple. What would you recommend? How should we handle that?
When it comes to stuff like that, the financial stuff, I have a whole host of financial advisors. Again, people that we know that I would recommend them to for the financial talk. My talk is more of the broad-based talk with financials and communications to them, letting them know, listen, these are major reasons people get divorced, so this is what you got to look at first. And then what comes last is the legal talk. Do you guys have anything? I got married, I had nothing. But I had a law degree. And laws changed. No, my wife can no longer take half my law degree or the income from it, case law, whatever. But I didn't own a house. I had nothing in my bank account. I went to law school. I didn't have a pension, so there was nothing to divide. There was no reason to have a prenuptial agreement. That's my conversation I have more with more established individuals, older individuals who are getting married maybe later on.
It's important because I think prenuptial, let's say, in my case, Total Event Staffing, the companies that I create, these become $1 million companies. Even if we had a prenup in the beginning, I think that usually most prenups don't protect you for shared assets and things that you created
during the marriage, during terms of the marriage. Not necessarily true, depending on how you word them, what you're putting in there. A lot of my clients, a lot of my successful clients have prenups and postnups. So they're altering and changing things afterwards. I have this one couple, great older couple. They've been together for 24 years. Successful, really successful. And they're always updating their postnup. They're never going to get divorced. At least I don't see it. I should never say never. But again, their communication is open. Their financials are all on the table. They're partners in a business, things that you would think are going to crumble everybody. And it's working for them. So because again, they're upfront with each other. I'm protecting these assets, you're protecting these. Why do you have health insurance? Why do you have life insurance?
Yeah.
I don't want to die. I hope I never get sick. I don't want to go to a hospital. You know what I do? I pay a premium every month. In case I do, I'm protected. And that's how I kind of explain the prenups and the postnups to my clients. Because not everyone is that 24-year-old couple that's so open with each other and so willing to both sign and both do it. Usually it's one spouse coming to me by themselves because they have the assets. I have mom and dad's shore house, and I got this trust and that trust, and they don't realize that things left to you by will or testacy are not marital property as long as they're not commingled. So those will always be separate property. Your spouse can't attack those unless you commingle them. But there's other people that come in. I own $1 million business,
and I can see both sides.
I gotta make sure she gets it.
I can see both sides of that too, where you have the property, and did you set up a document that if something happens to you, that property doesn't get lost in the family, that it does go over to my spouse, because I love my spouse. I want to make sure that she has it for my kids and da. Like, I can see both sides of that thing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I thought that was important.
Yeah, no, and it's tough. Some people listen. I have crazy cases too where I have men and women. It's been on both sides. It's not just one gender or the other. A week before the wedding, they're calling me, hey, my husband, or hey, my future husband, hey, my future wife, their attorney just drafted this prenup. Can you review it? A week before the wedding. And
yeah, that doesn't strike me. You should be doing it. Maybe and after the engagement. I don't know when the perfect time and the conversation is.
The perfect time is when the perfect time is? Before you get engaged.
Before you get engaged.
Hey, if we're ever gonna do this, and I know it sucks. Oh, and there are people probably gonna be saying that. Listen, Joe, you're stupid. You're not realistic. That's not how the real world works. Yeah, hop in the back of the truck and let me show you how the real world works. Because in all reality, you should. Because again, if you want to set up a marriage for success, it's that open communication.
Well, I gotta say,
fortunately,
I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I just think about what's the life partner, and based on my life experiences. I had a kid at 19. Certainly don't want her to go through that experience. And then I want her to have a career. I want her to have I have 3 boys following her, but she's kind of the one I think about the most because she's my princess. But whether it's her or the boys, just the understanding that the life partner that they settle down with, I want them to be a good match. I want them to financially help each other. I want them to be appreciative of each other's life goals. And when you think about it, what's the most important, especially when you talk about what you're talking about in terms of the reasons for divorce. Have we thought about what the financial picture looks for us in the future? Love is a little bit more tangible than just feelings, right? Do we have the same life trajectory? Do we want to live in the same place? Do we want to have a certain style of living? If I'm somebody that's happy living shiftlessly on a beach somewhere, and I'm with somebody that really wants to be in a air conditioned control, AC, heat, type of place next to the water, like those are totally different life perspectives, and probably something important that I should know before we start exchanging rings.
And another one that I see a lot too, and again, it all relates back to the two core things: finances and communication. So one of the big things with the lack of communication is not only financial goals but family goals. You won't believe how many divorces I've had in the last, I would say my last 2 years, that are due to, we got into this marriage together. We both like, oh, we don't want kids. We're no kids. We just want to do our own thing, and it is what it is. And then the husband would say, I want kids now. 3 years down the line. Or the wife, I want to have kids now. Or we want to adopt. Or we want. That's huge. If you're not on the same page about that, you know, and the other major issue is when there's dispute going on, they think a child's going to solve the issue too. Let's have a child. Let's grow our family. And listen, I think life is beautiful. I think children are beautiful. I can't wait to have my own kids. But don't make children a solution for a problem, because it's most likely not going to be the solution to that problem. It's either the financial.
I got a running line on it. You know, marriage doesn't change things too much, but kids change everything.
Yep. So, those are some of the issues with the divorce stuff that I see, the matrimonial stuff, the family law matters. I know we only have a couple minutes left, so I don't know.
We're running to the top of the hour. This has been a fun hour with you. And I'm looking forward to doing this again, Joey.
Definitely.
I think what I really want to do is set up something like a legal advice hour. So I'll try to set things up where we got a few people that we can counsel on and really let you go with the legal knowledge that you have. And I think that'll set us up for some good humor as well as some great advice for folks.
Oh yeah.
We'll schedule things up to do that. Before we take off and hang out, I'm gonna, after you do your last bit here, I'd love to just kick it with you a little bit after the broadcast. But in closing, before we sign off, what are some things, both on the business side and maybe for personal relationships on the divorce side, because we're seeing so much of that right now, that you want to leave people with? What are some good tips that you would suggest that they do to avoid calling you? And then some tips if they do feel like they need to call you, how they would get in touch with you.
All right. So here's my advice for everybody. We're all assholes. That's first and foremost. So there's always going to be a problem. Brace yourself for it. But listen, if you're looking from top to bottom, if you're looking to buy or sell, get an attorney involved sooner rather than later. It's really going to help the process out. With marriages, if you guys have some stuff prior to marriage, and you're concerned, have your communication open, have your financial talk. But you know what? Get a prenup. It's gonna help. It's gonna resolve some problems, or it might break that bond right there. And you know what? If you can't survive a prenup talk, you're probably not going to survive marriage. So you might want to get someone involved there. My business guys and girls, please, 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 if you don't have the right legal documents in place now, and you've been operating for 10 years, and hey, it's been going for 10 years, 15 years, I'm successful. Screw this kid, he wants to make money off of me. It's fine. Let's go talk to somebody. Because sooner or later, unfortunately, things are going to happen. And I think we're living in that time right now. Things are happening that we don't account for, don't plan for. Protect yourselves. Protect your assets. Protect what you worked your whole life for, and create something for your children and your family after it's over. My criminals, don't get caught. You want the best, don't get caught. And if you get caught, you keep your mouth shut. You say, call my lawyer, Joey the lawyer. I'm not answering any more questions. That's all you do.
I think that's important too. So, I mean, everybody, I definitely ran into some legal trouble. I had to do with traffic stop, not having my seatbelt on when I was younger in the Bronx, and definitely had to go through the whole court process. You might end up in a situation where mistaken identity, allegedly, something happens. If you feel like you're completely innocent, there's no reason that somebody should be arresting you. Should you still call an attorney?
Yeah, you always call an attorney. If you're put in handcuffs, you're being accused of something,
I'm innocent.
you call an
I
attorney.
can tell my story, right? I can talk to the police and I can tell them because I'm innocent. I have nothing to hide.
You keep your mouth shut. I have friends that are police officers, cousins, family members, friends. Listen, anything you say can and will be used against you, and will be used against you negatively.
So
There's a great.
100% innocent. I
You're
should.
not gonna have a conversation. No, you're not gonna have a conversation with the cop on the side of the road, or in front of the bodega, or outside the club, and oh, he hit me first, so I hit him. He touched him. I did it. No. Okay, you want to arrest me? Arrest me. I'm gonna get a rain. I'll make my phone call. Get out, and I'll prove my case. I'll defend myself. If you're truly innocent, it's gonna come out before we even make it to trial, and they're gonna drop the charges. But if you're opening your mouth and you start just giving them some fuel to fill up the tank, they could potentially misuse it. I'm not saying they would. It could be misunderstood. It could be written down wrong. The cop may have heard too many people talking and wrote down the wrong statement. All you could do is trip yourself up by trying to explain your way out of it because you're innocent. Let me help you become innocent.
For anybody that doesn't believe that, go watch a documentary. Time and time again, the police have looking to find somebody, not necessarily in an evil way, but they're looking to put somebody down for the crime. That's their job, is to find a suspect.
Yep.
And
again, it's not necessarily intentional. It's not necessarily intentional. And I need that to be very clear. There's a lot of great cops I know, and they do their job to the best of their ability. I do my job to the best of my ability. I make mistakes.
That's the way the legal system works.
There's mistakes that are made. Things are, and again, if it's written down wrong, recorded wrong, all you're going to do is hurt yourself.
All right, so now
keep your mouth shut. Call Joey the lawyer.
They got to call Joey the lawyer. How can folks get in touch with Joey the lawyer?
All right. My office is based out of White Plains, 1133.
Can I throw up the website for Gaines, Novick, Ponzini, Cossu, and Vinditti?
Drop the Kevin B Faga website because we're of counsel to them.
Go ahead and talk, and I'll bring that up.
So we're in Westchester, White Plains, 1133 Westchester Avenue, Suite N202, White Plains, New York, 10604. My office number is 914-358-1373, extension number 2. Or you could email me, jh@kevinbfaga, FAGA.com.
I got the website up here, and there's some contact. Yep, Kevin B Faga. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit. It's kind of small. We're gonna gotta tell Kevin we got to make the contact information call to action
a little bigger
on the front page. There is a contact. Let's see if I hit that. It comes up. Still small.
Still small. Okay. Yeah, we definitely got to update that, make it bigger.
For Kevin Faga, we want the call to action to be a lot bigger on the front page of the website, and the contact information to be a little bit bigger. But this is how you would go. The website was very easy to find on Google, kevinbfaga.com, and you can find the information to get in touch with Joey the lawyer, 914-358-1373.
And if anyone's out there wants to follow me on Instagram, it's Joey_the lawyer, Joey_the_lawyer. You can always DM me with the question, get my contact information that way. So I'm readily available, and all my clients will always get my cell phone number once we start contact, just because it's easier to get me on my cell. I'm not throwing that number up there right now.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for being on here, Joey. We'll see you next time.
Cameron, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, I'm trying to cue up my theme song, and I'm having technical difficulties. As usual, it's crazy. I got to work this out. iTunes does not work on my computer. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Hang out for a second, Joey.